What is the importance of play in child development? So, if you didn't know, play has a pivotal role in child development. Today, I want us to get a better understanding of the importance of play and its critical role in the cognitive, emotional, social, and physical development of children. Play is a fundamental aspect of child development, and it influences every major development domain, which is quite amazing. If you were with us last week, we actually got to go into some more detail into each stage and into each domain of development. So we looked at cognitive development, social development, emotional development, and physical development. And we were able to break those down into age groups. And those are the stages of development, looking at newborn up until adulthood. So how is play influential in each of these developmental domains? For cognitive development, play can build problem-solving skills. So we learned last time that cognitive development looks at problem solving, it looks at memory, it looks at critical thinking skills. And play is able to influence these skills, develop them, and allow children to practice them in a fun and engaging way. Play stimulates brain growth and supports the development of neural connections. Social development, children are able to learn how to interact with their peers, understand social norms, and develop communication skills. Play helps children to practice cooperation, negotiation, empathy, and this can be seen in all different types of play. And later on in this webinar, we're going to discuss the different types of play. Emotional development. Play can influence how children express their emotions. It supports the building of self-confidence and helps them learn how to emotionally regulate. It allows children to experiment with different feelings and responses in a safe environment. And lastly, physical development, which may be more of an obvious one in terms of the movement that's involved with play. So we know that play can actually improve motor skills, coordination, and overall physical health. And active play promotes fitness, strength, fine and gross motor skills. So later on, we're going to look at how different kinds of play can be used to support physical development. In our last webinar, we looked at fine and gross motor skills, which are essentially your gross motor skills. Think of that as your bigger movements, and that's running, jumping, your bilateral skills, being able to use your body to achieve, a goal or to achieve movement. And our fine motor skills are the smaller types of motor skills, which are being able to pinch things, picking things up, and that leads to things like self-feeding, for example, which is why it's important to develop both of these. And essentially all of these, but especially with physical development, carries children into the level of independency, which is necessary for those early school years. So as I said, there are 4 types of play, and these 4 types of play are free play, structured play, sensory play, and imaginative play. How do these help caregivers and educators support a child's development more effectively, you may ask? We welcomed a number of different people to join this webinar because play essentially not only impacts school, but also impacts the home environment. So we're going to look at how it can help parents, caregivers, and educators to support their children effectively. So first, we have free play. Free play is unstructured, voluntary play that allows children to use their imagination and creativity. Voluntary is a very important word here because it's something that they're doing without any intervention. It's something that they're doing off of their own autonomy, off of their own independence, and most of the time off of their own passions and interests. It benefits them, fostering their independence, their creativity, their self-expression, and you'll see that free play normally, free play activities or free play sessions, children normally will be gravitating towards the types of things that they enjoy. Free play is very pivotal for children because in essence, they do get a lot of parental intervention, a lot of adult intervention, a lot of supervision. And so giving them that flexibility to choose and have an unstructured set of playtime really can boost that imagination, that creativity. Sorry, I thought I had a question. Structured play. Structured play are organized activities with a specific goal or rule, such as sports or board games. So this type of play teaches discipline, it teaches teamwork and following instructions. It's important that we have free play, which, as we know, is unstructured, it's voluntary, but then it's important that we also have structured play, organized activities, organized tasks for children. This is where we start to see the cognitive skills and the cognitive development really skyrocketing, because structured play activities, organized games such as sports with rules, board games, typically need the problem solving skills. They use memory and they use those types of skills which to accomplish the game and win overall. And as I said, it teaches discipline, it teaches teamwork and following instructions. These types of skills which are necessary in each area of the child's life, and you're finding a fun and creative method of teaching those as opposed to enforcing rules, charts, and a lot of verbal language, which we discussed in our last webinar, can be quite difficult for children to attain, especially if they are neurodiverse, and more so are used during a scenario where children are not adhering to instructions or are not being able to display good teamwork or adhere to discipline. And so it's those moments where parents, teachers, caregivers may try to reinforce those, and they're not necessarily the best environment for there to be the best results. Our next type of play is sensory play, activities that engage the senses, such as sand play, water play, sensory bins, and these help children to make sense of the world. They support sensory integration and fine motor skills. So you're able to use sensory play activities to make sense of the world. Big ideas, things that are a bit more difficult for them to understand. You can use sensory play to make them understand it for themselves. So big ideas could be, you know, the body or the planet or just science in general is a big idea, and you can break those down into blocks of understanding and have sensory play activities where they're able to engage with that and explore it. They'll be able to ask questions, they'll be able to start to build the foundations for that as they go into more structured and more defined learning and lessons, for example, in school or in daycare. When questions may come up or activities may come up, you have sensory play activities where they can physically get involved, and then that would lead to them being able to translate that into language or writing skills. I have a question. Hi, Lois. Imaginative play. Imaginative play is pretend play, where children create scenarios and roles such as playing house, pretending that they're superheroes, pretending that they're a doctor, pretending that they're a teacher. And imaginative play one, is so beautiful to watch because you start to see similarly in the free play activities what their passions, what their focus is, what their mind may be occupied with, or what they're learning throughout the day as they go throughout their day, that you start to see in imaginative play them reenacting those types of things. And this fosters creativity, language skills, and social understanding. So let's look at some play-based learning techniques. I've narrowed it down into 4. We have learning through play, thematic play, interactive storytelling, and educational tools and toys. Incorporating play into educational activities makes learning more engaging and effective. So how can we learn through play? Use games, playful activities to teach academic concepts. Concepts such as maths, science, literacy can be quite difficult for children to attain, especially in longer periods, and especially with those who may be struggling in those areas. So you can use play, you can use games to teach these concepts. So maths games, science experiments, and literacy activities. Thematic play essentially is looking at themes. So you create play scenarios around educational themes like space, history, colors, art, and that deepens their understanding and their retention. So just bringing you back to the types of play. For example, you have a sensory bin and you've got all these different you're trying to let the child explore science, for example, and you're having different textures. You've got slime, you've got sand. They're looking at differences in material. They're looking at what's hard, what's soft, what's wet, what's dry. And you're trying to teach them these concepts. Now, having a theme within a group of activities is the deepening their understanding and their retention. And this can be done at home and also in school. Interactive storytelling. Combining storytelling with play elements encourages children to act these out. And again, they gain a deeper understanding. It creates a connection to the story because they're actually involved in the elements of the story. And you can encourage them to act these out. So this also will promote not only their creativity, their curiosity, it will also promote their language, their team working skills, their collaborative skills, being able to work together in a group for a common goal. And lastly, educational toys and tools. Utilizing toys and tools to that are designed, for learning. So puzzles, building blocks, and educational apps. It's important to obviously have a range of toys, and toys and play are supposed to be fun. But this is why I reiterate that there's different kinds of play, and I encourage teachers and carers, parents to engage in all different kinds of play. It's okay to have free play for your child to, run wild and engage with whatever they want to engage with, but having some structured time really supports those early learning skills of being able to be seated, being able to be focused, adhering to instructions. Now it's time for this, and after this, you'll be able to do this. And this mirrors into other areas of their life when you're trying to transition them from playtime to bedtime, or from dinner out to get dressed to go to school. These are when these skills can be developed, and then they're transferable. Being able to answer questions is always transferable. Being able to adhere to instructions is transferable, because you want to be able to communicate with them, and for them to be able to receive that, be receptive of that communication, and of course, follow through. So having a range of educational toys and tools to incorporate that into their play can be really substantial for their academic, social, cognitive, and overall physical growth. And these can be found in things such as puzzles, building blocks, and educational apps. if you are a parent that doesn't really like to, or a teacher that doesn't really like to use too much technology or screen time and things like that, you can mirror the same activities with puzzles, with building blocks, things that they can physically involve themselves with, or even a combination of the two, having them do an activity which they will then translate onto paper. Okay, let's now have a look at how we can create a play-friendly environment. This involves setting up spaces at home or even in educational settings that encourage safe and stimulating play. First things first is safety. Safety is pivotal, and it's the first point of reference for all play-friendly environments and all environments for children nonetheless, but especially with play. So you want to ensure that all play areas are safe, free from hazards, and appropriately supervised. So even when you're trying to encourage that independent play and you're trying to have that free play for your child to just kind of engage with an activity on their own, you want to ensure that the play area is safe, it's free from hazard, and appropriately supervised. If you'd like to understand a bit more about how you can appropriately supervise a child who's may find independency a bit challenging or separation anxiety may be an issue, I would encourage you to look to check out our last webinar where I go into more detail and give examples of how you can do that. Number two, accessible and organized. Those are your two words when you're thinking about or engaging with setting up an activity, setting up a space at home or in an educational setting that's safe and stimulating. It needs to be accessible. The toys and materials need to be accessible to the child, and they need to be organized into types or themes. So this is where thematic play may come in. If you're doing one big theme, you wouldn't want to just chuck everything into the middle because it's overwhelming and you're not going to get the full advantage of a thematic play experience for a child. I do recommend stations and just having things separately where children can move towards. This works well with younger children as well as older children, because younger children, you're encouraging their movement, you're encouraging their motor skills, them reaching towards items, and for older children who may be walking and crawling, you're encouraging that movement even more so. And so you're encouraging them to be a bit more independent, to be explorative in their play, going from one item or one station of play to another. Variety of spaces. So creating different zones for various types of play, such as a quiet corner for reading, an open area for active play, and creative space for arts and crafts. So if you have older children where you would have a variety of activities, maybe parents may have a bit more of a pivotal role in this, especially given the summer holidays where you've got a lot of time with your children. You can think about breaking down the areas in the home or even in the living room or in their bedroom where they can have a little side where they're reading. An active area, this could be outside, this could be the park, this could be where they have a bit more movement, and of course a creative space where they can get a bit messy, enjoy art, enjoy crafts. And lastly, when looking at creating a play-friendly environment, I love incorporating nature. So including the outdoor spaces, outdoor play spaces, or incorporating elements of nature within play areas. And this promotes physical activity and connection with the environment. Nature offers so many free and accessible resources for children to understand the world around them, which is actually a pivotal part of early years foundational learning. And it's about them understanding the world around them, understanding their environment, understanding who they are, understanding their role within their community, within the family. And these can actually be established at young ages. We don't give children enough credit for how aware they are and how much they understand about themselves and their role. And I do feel like giving them that sense of belonging and giving them that sense of importance from a young age by establishing the fact that they do have a role. They're a daughter or they're a son, they're a brother or sister, they may be an older brother, an older sister, they're a friend, they're a student. Attaching those roles and allowing them to explore what that looks like, allowing them to even explore like the environment around them, whether they live in a certain area, their area has animals, or their area is more green or more built up with buildings. And it's a great way for them to connect with the environment around them and the people around them. Encouraging independent play. So here I want to offer a bit of insight into how parents and educators can foster independent play. And this, as I said, promotes creativity and promotes problem-solving skills. Promoting independent play can help children develop these different stages, these different areas of development as we discussed earlier. So we have 4 ways that you can encourage their play: providing choices, setting the stage, modeling and guiding, and praise and support. So first, providing choices, offering a range of play options and letting your child choose their activity. This fosters autonomy. Autonomy is the notion of basically being able to answer something for yourself or achieve something for yourself or choose something for yourself. And where children within their development, really ego is the biggest foundation that's surrounding them. So everything is about them, it's their little world. You have a lot of big emotions that surrounds that when they're not able to get something or they're not able to understand something. And so finding ways and opportunities for them to feel autonomous can be really empowering for them and lets them also understand that this is how I summarize it when I'm working with children on a one-to-one basis: my way and your way. Very clear and very simple, very easy to repeat. First, my way, then your way. And so you're building that understanding for them that sometimes mummy or daddy or mister will be the one that's going to choose this, or it's my instruction. And then once it's done, you can also be autonomous in what we do. Secondly, setting the stage. So creating an environment where they can step back and look around and have the freedom to explore and play independently. So this may be a bit more easier to achieve at school or in an educational setting, but I do encourage parents that whatever space you have, you're still able to set a stage. Remember, they're very small, so you don't have to have this massive playroom or a massive garden space where you can have all these different things and they have to walk a mile to reach them. You can set a stage by just clearly defining each activity that you want them to explore, and this can be defined by positions. Some things can be on the floor, some things can be on a table, some things can be opened up and already played with. So it's nice to sometimes when you're setting up play activities to have it set in a way that it's been played with already. So for example, you would have some of the cards already turned over, or if it's a motor activity, you have the magnet attached to the fish or the worm, for example. And that allows them, when they go to explore, they're like, oh, this is how you do it? Okay, I want to do it myself. Modeling and guiding, which leads us nicely into modeling and guiding. Initially, I encourage that you would play the activity with the child and then gradually reduce your involvement, and that encourages them to take the lead. So you have your child-led learning and you have something that we call the optimal proximity of development. And within that, it's this space where your child has enough intervention to feel safe or feel encouraged and motivated to keep getting involved, but it's limited enough for them to start to try and do it on their own. And in that space, your child is gaining their independence and gaining that skill more quickly than just being told to do it or just left on their own. And lastly, but I think is most important, is praise and support. So within encouraging independent play, you want to foster an environment where there's lots of positive reinforcement, lots of confidence building, and that will support them and encourage them to continue to do that. So play essentially develops social skills in the most pivotal way, I would say, when it comes to developing each stage of your child's development at each area. The role of play is really, really significant in critically teaching your child how to share, how to cooperate with others, conflict resolution, and you get all of that even within 10 minutes of your child playing with someone. A lot of these issues and challenges will appear. So let's look at 4 ways that play is essential in social skill development. Firstly, sharing and turn taking. So play scenarios often require sharing resources, taking turns, teaching children patience and cooperation. You have communication. So through play, children can learn to communicate their ideas, negotiate their roles. I want to be this, I want to be the princess, or I want to be the dragon, and resolving conflicts. I will be the dragon first, and then you can be, or we can both be the dragon, or today I'll be the dragon, tomorrow you won't. And it's amazing to see how they actually solve a lot of problems on their own when they're given the opportunity and also equipped with the tools, of course, to do so. Empathy and understanding. So role playing and group play help children to understand different perspectives and develop empathy. Being maybe a sad character in a story, or getting hurt in a story, or in a role play being the patient and one's being the doctor. They're learning different perspectives, understanding, what it's like to be in other people's shoes, what it's like to support someone who's sad, what it's like to actually be sad. And here they gain an understanding of different zones of regulation, and how they're able to self-regulate themselves and also support each other. And lastly, teamwork. Collaborative play activities teach the value of teamwork, working towards a common goal, which is really important, and even a skill that we need as adults and what people are constantly looking for. Because obviously, when you're working within a company or you're working within a group, you need to be able to collaboratively work together towards a common goal. Now let's take a look at how we can adapt play for different needs. This is very important because we may have children within your home or within a school, within an educational setting, or just in your lives that may have diverse needs. One, these definitely need to be identified, they need to be understood, and so you can effectively support. Play can be adapted to support children with diverse needs, and I encourage people to do that, so that the child can, find joy and comfort and, exploration within the play activity that you want them to do, because you want them to have fun and you don't want them to feel like this is too hard or I can't do this. It kind of goes against the notion of what play is supposed to achieve. So we can adapt play for different needs by making them inclusive, ensuring that all children can participate by adapting the activity to meet the ability of each child. So if it's, a memory game and they have to flip it over before. So a great game that I love to use is the shopping list game. And it's actually a cognitive based game. So it's based off of memory. But when I'm working with neurodiverse children, I just allow them to choose what they want, what they have on their shopping list, as opposed to having it turned over, because that's now made the game a bit more complex. And for some children, you would want to challenge them in that way because it's fun for them to be able to think, is it here or is it here in terms of memory? But for other children, just identifying the shopping item, finding it and putting it in the trolley is a great achievement. Sensory adjustments. So modifying sensory play activities to accommodate children with sensory processing issues. So this might be making some some of the activities or elements of the activities may need to be a bit more quieter or less tactile material, or something that on a smaller scale for them to engage with. I do encourage, though, parents with children who are neurodiverse or who do have sensory processing issues, I encourage them that it's within play settings and play activities where they can introduce certain textures and things that their child may not like. And this is important when it comes to food, when it comes to just engaging with everyday materials that are typically around the house. And you can support them by doing that in small doses, I would say. Structured play for specifically children with autism or on the autistic spectrum. You can adapt play for them by using clear instructions, by having predicted routines within a game, and having visual support where necessary or where it can be applied. And for behavioral support in general, for children who may be EBD or have neurodiverse challenges that are associated with challenging behavior, you can incorporate play-based strategies to address the specific behavioral challenges and provide opportunities to practice this and be reinforced outside of play. So what is parent involvement in play? I think looking at, the adaptation of spaces and setting up activities may seem a bit more adept to educators, but I hope that any parents who are listening and who will be rewatching this can feel quite confident that they'll be able to achieve that in a home space. But we can look at specifically how important parental involvement in play is in terms of bonding and development for their children. So firstly, quality time. Dedicating regular time to play with your child strengthens your bond and creates lasting memories. The simplest of games and the simplest of activities, how would I say, phrased in a form of play. So I say that, for example, mixing something, making food, or creaming their body, or pouring them a glass of water, putting on their clothes, putting on their shoes. Some of these activities are just regular routine, but they can be used in a form of play, and it creates lasting memories that your child may even initiate again, because they enjoyed playing with you so much. Following the child's lead. Letting your child take the lead in play activities allows them to show you their interest and their enthusiasm, and it gives them even more enthusiasm for their own choices. And you want to start to see a bit more independency and a bit more leadership in your child, especially when they're going to be moving towards early education or going into alternative group settings where they'll be playing with other children. You want to feel confident that your child is going there, being able to play with others, but is also a leader. Balancing interaction. So your involvement in play should be very balanced. Engage actively, but also allow space for your child to play independently, and you're offering them support and encouragement along the way. And lastly, playing as learning. So you yourself can take the role as an educator in your child's life. Once you've recognized that play is valuable to learning and you can use it as a tool, you can just integrate it into different activities, daily routines, and learning experiences. You can teach your child about where you're from through food, for example. You can teach your child about hygiene through a bath routine. You could teach your child counting even through those same activities. So it's important for parents to kind of gauge what they have, essentially. I'm a big advocate of what you have, what's in your hand, what resources you have, what tools you have, what are your strengths as a parent as well, and how can you use those to support your child in these different areas. So that leads me on to what we have going on at Rokil. So we do our sensory wonders classes, and these are messy play, sensory fun, and early development activities from the age of 6 months. And this is for parents carers to bring their children in an environment where the activities have been made and created with development in mind. They're neurodiverse friendly. It's an environment for you to be able to foster play, be supported in play as well, because you'll be able to see by myself, a practitioner, and my other staff, how to engage with your child, and you'll be able to feel confident and equipped in that. And of course, having fun with your child, being able to make lasting memories, spending that quality time, and in an environment where you're having a range of activities, weekly themed, you're covering those different areas of play, and you're also able to identify some passions in your child and maybe some challenges as well that you'd be able to advocate for them at an earlier age, as opposed to when they start school and they've had a few years of that recurrent challenge. We have our guided growth coaching, and this is for parents and educators, teachers, and any specialists in the area that are working with children. We support with and handle visuals, routine schedules, behavioral interventions. All of this is done on the NDBI, which is naturalistic behavioral intervention. So we support children in a natural way, not using any overly intervened interventions or support on your child that would be overwhelming for them in any way or robotic like. You get access to one-to-one consultation, personalized educational and behavioral plans, assessment support, adaptation techniques and guidance for your class or for your home education, or if you want to just have that element at home as well. And you'll be able to get hands-on training, modeling for play, for learning, how you can actually use what you have, what activities you have in multiple different ways. Many of our parents have found that, and teachers as well, when we've done modeling and one-to-one training, that actually physically demonstrating what they could do with the child and then mirroring it in that time is so much more effective than just reading it. So if anyone is interested in that, you can have a more detailed read on our website and reach out to one of the members of my team to discuss more. And we also have our personalized pathways, which is our one-to-one support and intervention. And this is to give children extra academic activities. We support children with speech and language delay, cognitive delay, children who are neurodiverse or neurotypical and just are needing that extra boost in any area of development. So this could be socially, this could be emotionally, this could be cognitively, and this could also be physically. And our support for these areas of development, and particularly mental health, ranges from preschool up until 18 and up to 25 for vulnerable adults who are also dependents. Thank you so much for listening. I am welcoming any questions that anyone may have. If you have any questions, you can either raise your hand or you can write it in the chat. And of course, here are the details to be able to reach us via email or social media if you'd like to answer or ask any questions privately. How can educators and parents stay informed about new developments in play-based approaches? So you can stay informed by signing up to our mailing list, where we'll be able to update you on those within our monthly blogs. These can be sent directly to your inbox. Just check if we have any emails or any messages. How can parents and educators encourage children to engage in independent play? So there are a few ways that they can. I refer you back to the slides where you can promote independent play through providing choices, setting the stage so the child can step back and see all the choice that they have to engage with and explore. Modeling and guiding, so initially modeling an activity to the child and then gradually reducing your involvement so they can take the lead. And lastly, praising and supporting them throughout to just reinforce that they're doing well, they're playing independently, and they should continue. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Like I said, if anyone has any more questions or anything that was said in the webinar that you'd like to hear a bit more about, or you'd like to engage with us, connect with us on our social media to stay informed with our upcoming webinars, any activities that we offer as well, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at rokil.cic. And you can also email us at info@rokilcic.com. And of course, all our resources, all our information, our mission, our values, our goals, and a bit more detail about the team and their background can be found on our website at www.rokilcic.com. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon. Take care.